It's the Teller Drawer. Real talk, real money, real people.
Credit unions were started by communities.
The standpoint of just being a credit union, it's kind of our job to go beyond.
Listening to the community. What are the needs?
CSE can come in and they can do financial literacy.
They're going to get that balance. They're going to get that purchase amount.
If you reach out to us, we'll help you.
The big myth is that it's always banks beat credit union.
It takes a lot of A's to get to a D, to get to a B.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode. We are so excited to be here with you guys. We are doing another great episode. We are talking today about credit unions versus banks. And no, we're not talking about some big combative competition or something. We're not talking about some big attack. We're not talking about Batman versus the Joker or anything crazy like that. We are talking about the differences between credit unions versus banks. And a lot of people don't know about it. I don't know that much about it. I think I know a little bit, but I don't know. I actually belong to a credit union and a bank. I don't really use my bank anymore, but it's still there. And sometimes I think they try to charge me a service fee. I should probably just cancel that thing. But I'm going to learn today why I need to go over there and just cancel it and tell them to leave me alone. I think I have like one bill that comes out of there. And then when the account gets low, they try to charge me something. So anyway, they're going to educate me today. Tim, hello, my friend. Glad to be back here with you. Can you tell us who do we have here today? You always bring friends. You're the one who brings the friends. I'm just here to talk to Tim. And then Tim brings friends.
Right. Absolutely. No, friends are great. Experts are better.
Okay. I came
with Jeannie Fye, our Chief Operating Officer, and then Justin Frazier, who you'll probably see again. Actually, you'll probably see both of these guys again on different episodes. But Justin's our Community Outreach Coordinator and certainly does a lot of things that sets credit unions apart from banks. So,
interesting.
So we're here to talk about the differences. And you're right, it's not a competition. There's certainly room enough in the world for banks and credit unions, but there's some stark differences that a lot of people don't know about. People come into the credit union all the time and this is my bank. And they're not wrong. We like to think of banking as a verb. You come in, you get your money. We'll give it to you. That's an action. So
you do banking.
You can get your loans. You can do your online banking. We don't online credit union.
Right. But you do online banking.
Online banking at your credit union. So there's a lot of differences, and they're going to help us explain what some of those are, and we're ready to roll.
Love that. So where do we start? What are we talking about?
Let's start with the structure, because I think that's what's important. Again, looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's got to be a duck, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, that one might be a goose, or that one might be a hen, or I don't know, are ducks and hens all the same?
I live by Price Park, and I don't know what those things are, but they're all over the place. All right.
But banks are generally institutions, financial institutions that are for profit, meaning their goal is to make money. They have investors. They have a board of directors that their goal is to make money. And when you get community banks, smaller community banks, their goal is to make as much money as possible to become a merger partner for a big bank to come in and say, hey, we'll pay you a little bit more. So that's kind of the goal. Now, it's not to say they don't do good things. They do. Banks oftentimes do a lot of things that credit unions might not be able to do just because of the amount of resources they have versus what we've got. But there's some pretty big differences. Credit unions are made up by volunteer board members that are credit union members. You have to be a member at the credit union to be part of the organizational structure. And their whole goal, our whole goal as a credit union, is to help modest people of average everyday means make ends meet and do so at a reasonable, fair price, if you will, for banking. You're thinking price, like I don't pay for my bank. Well, yeah, you do.
Interesting.
In a lot of different ways.
I never thought about that.
So there's a lot of different things to that. Jeannie can actually probably speak a lot more to that as our Chief Operating Officer who deals with the board of directors a lot more. But we've got a great volunteer board of directors that comes in to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And the right thing is serving our members. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So honestly, credit unions were started by communities. So that was the whole premise behind credit unions, is pooling together resources, savers and borrowers, people who needed to borrow money for various things, homes and cars, and just to make life happen. And so people pooled their funds together kind of against the banks, more for the common, everyday, low to moderate, working class people. That's really who pulled together. Most credit unions were started by companies or organizations way back when in, the early 1900s. They really just wanted to find a better way, a safe place to keep their money, and a way for those who had it to then be able to loan it out to the rest of their community. So that's really where it all started. And that really holds true still today. Most of our members are still local. Obviously, sometimes they move as life carries them around, but most of them are local. They put their money in savings. It is federally insured, just like it is at the banks. So that is kind of a big difference right there. And then we loan that money out to those who need it, to purchase homes, to purchase cars, credit cards, all of those services that you're used to seeing at a bank, also you would see at a credit union.
Okay, but so someone out there is thinking, a credit union is this little small thing, this little small country town kind of thing. You know what I mean? I'm a big person out here making moves. I plan on, I'm starting a small business, but I want my business to be big one day. I bought a small house, but I plan on getting a bigger house one day. I don't see myself as this little small town person. I don't plan on living in Canton, for instance. A lot of people, whatever town you're from, you think that town is no good. It's not good enough. It's not big enough. It's not fast enough. It's not flashy enough, right? So you don't want to be tied to the Canton School Credit Union or to whatever town you're in, probably, right? So why would somebody choose a credit union when the big name banks that I see on the stock market, I see them on the news networks, I see them everywhere. I mean, why wouldn't I go with one of them? Why would I go with a credit union?
I think you kind of spoke to it. How do the young people say it? There's levels to it.
Okay.
So not having fees gives you that freedom to, if you're talking about a business account and you think most banks are charging you the fees to maintenance that account, if you're just getting started, you may want to start at a credit union to see, what does this actually feel like? Let me dip my toe in this and see if I can manage a business account.
Yeah, I'm living that life.
So it allows that freedom.
I cannot afford
Is this something I really want to do? Is this something I can afford? I'm still trying to manage a household.
Yeah.
A lot of us are still living. So credit unions, kind of like Jeannie said, kind of came about so that we could work together.
Yeah.
You hear the saying, people helping people.
Yeah.
So, we also think people over profit. So credit unions are really going to invest in you. So there's levels to it. You want to start with a credit union, not to say you might not get to a bank, but it allows that freedom with the lower fees and the better interest rates.
And a lot of what you're talking about, Justin, is going back to that organizational structure. So credit unions are not-for-profit cooperatives. So our goal is to work together with other credit unions to provide reasonable services at as affordable a cost or no cost as possible. So you're talking about your small business bank account. If you go to one of the big boys, again, there's certainly reason to have those banks around. But as a small business, you don't have a lot of money to just spend and I don't want to say waste, but waste on bank account fees. So if you don't have, I don't know what these numbers actually are, but if you don't have $100,000 on deposit or $100,000 in loans, you might have a monthly maintenance fee, or you might have other charges that you will have to pay to bank there. At the credit union, $5 is all you have to have. Now, obviously, we would love to have some more because the more money you have on deposit, the more we can help other members. But we don't have the monthly service fees or a minimum balance requirements. You need honest, fair banking to do it your way because you operate different than we do. Who operates different than the pizza shop down the street or the flower shop. So everybody needs that opportunity to be able to build their business, and you shouldn't have to worry about where you're keeping your money as one of those main points of expenses for your operations.
Why does it cost a bank more? What I don't know if you guys know this. Is it that they have to provide for shareholder wealth? Why is there $12 maintenance fee? Literally, I can say this right now that because my account, it's probably just a checking account, doesn't have enough in it. I'm pretty sure I get a $12 maintenance fee every month, and it's just a checking account. I think my Y membership or something silly comes out of there, and I just haven't taken the time to switch it over to CSE because I got my account there when I was. Like my mom probably had an account there. My first kid account was put into that bank, and that bank changed name, but it's still whatever. So I've just been locked in there. And then as an adult, I made the adult choice to come over to CSE because I heard so many good things. I had a relative who got a car loan, and then something went wrong with the car, and like the car dealership did something wrong, and then CSE like helped her like fix it, even though the dealership was wrong. Like they still took care of her. They were like, well, that's not right. We're still going to help you with the loan, and we're going to figure that out. I was like, who does that? I was like, what? I was like, the loan people don't care. Like they don't. That's not their problem that you got a lemon or the dealer was wrong, or like that's not their problem. And she was like, yeah, but they like helped me. I was like, what?
So
but we do. Yeah,
that's a really good point though, because all of us are working in the communities and we make connections with our membership. We know the dealers that are working with them. We know what the members' needs are. We know what's happening within the community. So we are able to respond to those needs. If you took your loan, did your loan directly through the dealership and had an out-of-state or out-of-town financial institution finance your car, they don't have any idea what is happening in that community.
Right.
Whereas our lenders, our employees know exactly what's going on, what problems need to be solved for, what the needs are from our membership. Real quick, one of the other big differences that Tim kind of touched on is the collaboration. So that is a huge difference. You see a lot of competition amongst banks and banks versus credit unions. Credit unions actually do collaborate together, knowing that size and access to services is an issue. So collectively, we count on each other to help each other's members.
That's great.
And that is a big difference. And that just kind of builds on that community. So if you're in Florida, you maybe started your account in Northeast Ohio. Now you're in Florida, you can still access it through a credit union in Florida. So that is a huge difference. We collectively are working for the better good, providing services, not letting size be a detriment to us.
That's awesome.
And to that point, so I think maybe I'm getting this confused with a different podcast, but I feel like at one point earlier, Lucas, you said, how do I access my money if I'm out of town?
Yeah.
So we can't compete with a Chase or a Wells Fargo who's got, I don't know how many branches, 20,000 branches spread out throughout the country. We've got 4 right here in Canton, Stark County area. But to Jeannie's point, there are 5,000 other credit unions that participate in what's called a shared branch network. So you could go to Timbuktu and Timbuktu Credit Union, if they're part of this network, walk in there and say, hi, I'm a member of CSE in Canton, Ohio. I need to take out $20 or whatever.
Same thing with the ATM, right?
Yes, there's a whole network of ATMs. So collectively, we all invest in that network of ATMs. And
it's about the same size as Chase or Wells Fargo.
Or Bank of America or whatever else.
So people think that they're so limited. Well, one, you've got the online banking or online credit unioning.
Right.
But then you've got these shared branches and the shared ATMs. So you've got access to your money the exact same way that you would if you banked at Chase, Wells Fargo, or any of these other major banks. So
very true. And then outside of that, if I'm a Chase member and I go to a Huntington ATM, I can get money for a fee. That always exists for everybody, right? So not that anybody ever wants to do that, but for someone who's a CSE member and they're saying, I'm out of town, I could never get money. Well, if you're willing to be a Chase member going to a Huntington ATM, you could be a CSE member going to any ATM also. Is that true?
That is true. So you can use any ATM. If you're going to a bank's ATM, they're going to charge you. But there is, like Tim mentioned, that whole network of ATMs that they can go fee free.
Right.
So even if you're in Nebraska
and I've been in Nebraska. I've been in Iowa.
Oh,
nice.
I've been everywhere. I don't know why. I'm going to South Dakota next week, by the way. So nobody's Sioux Falls.
December seems like a really nice time.
Everybody says this is my last trip. I'm not traveling anymore after this. I've been a corporate trainer traveling too much, and I'm Lucas Live Media and Footage Fusion. I'm doing new things now. But so I do a lot of traveling, and I've joked about being places and how CSE has helped protect me when I'm using my card in weird places, and they're calling me like, is that you? I'm like, yeah, it's weird. I know. But I also know that I can go to credit unions, other places, and that I can get money out if I need to. I have that confidence now. Someone told me that. I didn't know that before, but someone told me that, and I was like, okay, cool. I know I'm covered, because I do see credit unions everywhere I go. Every state, every city has credit unions, and I know maybe they're not all in network, so to speak, but I have confidence I could find one if I need one.
Sure.
Yeah.
And going back to fees, you talked about the fee. Somebody talked about the fee.
I did. Yeah,
the
I was talking about fees.
So if you really get curious, go to a Huntington or another. I shouldn't even call out other institutions by name, but go to a bank, put in your CSE debit card, and see how much that fee is at another bank, and then come to the credit union and see how much your fee is at a different ATM. So we might charge $1, $2. I don't know what our fee is.
For
It's
there?
low.
What do you
For an
mean?
ATM
So if
is
you,
50
yeah,
cents.
for an ATM, if you use a bank ATM, that bank is going to charge you $5, $6, $7 to use a foreign ATM, one that's out of their network.
Yeah.
We're going to charge you, what is it?
50 cents.
50
If
cents?
someone,
So
you're saying
that's-
if a bank person brings their card to your ATM,
It's $1.50.
that's all you guys
Yeah.
charge.
So
But if you
here's
took
the
your
thing,
CSE card to
But if you to
a
theirs,
bank,
they're going to charge you
$4, $5, $6,
which is just again
Yeah.
another way to get more fees to
build that
shareholder wealth.
Exactly.
Right. So that is their sole purpose is for profit. They have shareholders, stockholders that
Yeah.
they need to show.
Yeah.
We're making
On
money.
that net, when you're watching
so
it on-
everything they do, they have to cover costs and then also generate profits. We still do have to charge some fees. I'll be very transparent about that.
Yeah.
But most of the fees that we're charging are to recoup the costs of us doing business
Mm-hmm.
or to enhance products and services, pay better rates on our savings accounts, charge you lower rates on your loans.
Wow.
We don't have things like application fees. Most of your banks
Right.
do have things like that.
Really
So
payoff penalties.
they're not only generating profit for their shareholders, but they're also inflating their expenses
Right.
to then pay out to
Application
their
fees.
shareholders. And if they don't perform, then their shareholders are either going to
drives
pull
me
out or somebody is
Yeah.
losing their job.
Yeah.
So much different than how we operate day to day.
Right.
But yeah, so going back to these fees, so a bank might come in and say, "Hey, so we are doing you a favor. We're going to reduce this fee.
I know.
Your credit card late payment fee. We're not charging you $20, $25. We're going to make it $5, or we're going to do away with it." Well, it costs you $100 to have that card anyway, regardless, with an annual fee.
Right.
Or they might inflate
interest
some of
rate.
these other fees. Or if you pay off this debt too early, we're going to charge
That
you
is
for it.
insane.
I'm paying off my debt. Why are you charging me early or more to pay it off early? So there's
Okay.
all kind of things that they just hit you with.
Okay, let me have a real person moment for everybody out there listening. I'm just the person. I'm not the expert. I'm just the person representing all of you out there. The fact that I ever had someone say, when I go to make a purchase, especially a big purchase, I am not this jovial, nice guy that you guys see before you. Okay, I go in, I am not nice. I go in, I'm just not nice. Because I've been taken advantage of, and people I love have been taken advantage of. Last car I bought, I came to CSC first and got a loan. I walked in there like I have money in my pocket. Don't talk to me like you're gonna take me in the back and work something out. No, you're not. I already worked it out, and my people have my back already, and so I get to come in here and choose what I want, and you can talk to my people who already got my back. So that was a nice feeling. But I hate this thought that, number one, I could be charged to pay something off early. That is the most insane. If you owe me money and you call me and say, "Hey, Lucas," Justin calls me, "Hey, Lucas, I got your money already." Whoa, buddy. I don't want it early. Yeah, because I want the interest, right? I want money.
Right.
I want more money. You're going to pay me more. That is the craziest thing I want. Do I want my money back, or do I want the scheme? Right. Or do I want something else? That doesn't make sense to me. So I don't like that. The thing where, like you said, they inflate things to deflate things to trick me into thinking I'm getting a deal. So I've sat down and we'll go to buy cars, and they inflate all of these application fees and all this nonsense. And I sit down with them and I say, I already know you can erase that. That doesn't have to exist. Now my son works in sales. My son is 20. I'll be like, they sell chair lifts. Now he's in a management position, so he works in the office now, but he's like the cost of the thing is whatever the salesperson goes in and makes the cost of the thing. He's like, it's the craziest thing, Dad. The cost of the thing is whatever that salesperson decides. And whatever margins they creates more profit for them and profit for the company.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. Like, my dad went to buy a car the other day, and I'm on the computer looking up all the proper pricing of it. And my dad came up in a generation where that wasn't the norm.
Yeah.
Right.
They
You didn't have
didn't go in
access
as
to
informed
information.
as that, right? And he knows you can barter a little bit, but he didn't know what I'm kellybluebuck.com. I knew all this stuff. And I was just telling him, like, Dad, no, it's not worth that, Dad, da-da-da-da. And he was just like, son, I don't have time for all that. I'm going to do what I'm going to do and negotiate the way I negotiate, and I'm fine. I said, okay. But it's a big deal in a day and age where we talked in an episode, we're talking about scammers, and we're worried about the people out there and the criminals out there. And I'm not trying to suggest that these people are criminals at all. That is their business model. They're allowed to have whatever business model they want. That is a totally legal business practice, no problem. But for a person like myself, who is conscious of the money I'm spending, conscious of the fact that I have a family, I'm a small business owner, I need every dollar I can get to invest in microphones and seats and things to be able to serve my community and do great things like this. I don't want to be throwing money away.
Yeah. And I think you just hit the nail on the head. That's a completely acceptable business model. Our goal with this podcast is we want to inform consumers.
Yeah.
We want you to make the best decision for you. And if that means you go to a bank,
that's fine.
By all means, go to the bank. That's okay.
Sure.
But our goal as a credit union is to help regular people make the most of their money. Bottom line. That's it. So
I was going to say, one thing that we spoke to is about the accessibility. I think one thing that our members love is not only having accessibility to money, but to our board members, to our executive team.
Right.
A lot of our board members are people that are, in the schools, in the community. So to be able to be at a dinner table and say, I was at CSE the other day and I really loved the rates that they were offering on the certificate of deposit and have a voice.
Right.
I think that's one thing credit unions really strive for, is to make sure that every member has a voice. So when we talk about that cooperative, that's the one thing that we pride ourselves that in the community, you have a voice.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
And Justin, you just brought up community, and that's probably the last thing that I want to make sure we touch on today is just our commitment, and credit unions in general, commitment to community.
Right.
You'll see banks out in the community, and it's great. They do a lot of great things. They invest a lot of money in banks. Banks weren't always that way. Back in the 70s,
Why are you looking at me like
she doesn't.
I was aware of what was happening in financial services in the 70s?
You're just really smart.
You looked at it right. Remember in the 70s?
Congress passed the Community Reinvestment Act. And guess who that targeted?
Banks.
Interesting. Mandating certain amounts of resources that they had to commit to the communities.
Right.
Credit unions were not part of that because credit unions already invested in communities.
Yes.
They were already there. They were already on the front lines. CSE is very much the same way. Justin's whole role is community engagement, community reinvestment, generally with education, but we do a lot with sponsorships and community involvement, and that's something that we pride ourselves on. Big time is being involved in Canton and Stark County, this community. The surrounding areas, certainly as we continue to grow and evolve, that's going to become bigger and more, and hopefully people see that. But just credit unions in general, the commitment to being proactive about education, financial education, setting the community up for success is something that's very important to all credit unions, but especially for CSE. So I wanted to make sure we hit on that because I think that's something that's also a huge differentiator. We're doing it because that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's our mission.
It's interesting. Somebody reached out to me yesterday and they said, their child is in dance, and their dance is a nonprofit, and they're going to Disney this year, and they need to raise money. And they reached out to me and they said, "How do you get CSE to sponsor?" And I was like, "I don't know." They're like, "I know they sponsor you," but just the fact that they see you with us is a beautiful thing. I love that. And we are so proud that we're partners. And I'm proud that people are seeing, because that's the whole point. We're like, we want to say your name as much as possible. We want to talk about you as much as possible because we are a small business that has our small business account with you all. And you guys help us in even doing your podcast with Lucas Line Media. You could just have decided to do a podcast with any business. You could have called a national business brand or anything, right? Or done it in-house or whatever you did. But you chose to do it with a business that does business with your business. It's a cyclical reinvestment. We're all working together. It's a beautiful thing. This is community. This is what it's all about. So, and then others are seeing it and saying, how can we work with them? Well, there are ways, right? And maybe there is a way, and maybe that will make sense. But also, hopefully, it makes them think, and maybe I should have asked them, not that they have to be banking with you, but do you? And have you considered it? And do any of your families? Or would you guys be willing to hear more information about it? Because this is how it's possible for them to give the money, is because there's more members there putting money in there that allows them to have the dollars to do things like this. So that's, I think, the education that's missing. They think they just have dollars to give away. No, it's not like the bank was mandated to it. They're able to do it. We don't
print our own money.
They're not printing money. They're able to do it because businesses and individuals like us are actually members there. So I think that's important for people to know.
Yeah.
I smile because that's the credit union mission. It just comes full circle. But, we're always striving to help our community. And on our website, we have a sponsor page. So, anybody looking to, see if we can help them,
that's cool. That's
go
great.
to the website,
that's cool.
Check us out. And we'll check it out.
That's awesome. That's nice that it's that simple. It's like you can just try and see and reach out and ask. That's great. That's great. All about the community. I love it. Okay, so as we're continuing to talk about these things, credit unions versus banks, and really mostly the differences, as we said, banks, it's a fair business practice how they do their business. Any small business, medium-sized business, big business can choose to do business how they choose to do business. And you can like it or not. And some people love it, and that's fair, and that's fine. I happen to like the credit union model more myself because I've seen both sides. Now we want to talk about some myths, okay? Mythbusters, okay? I think that was a whole show once. We're going to do our own little Mythbusters. So it's kind of like a true or false Mythbusters. So I heard that it's possible. And if it's not true, it's not true. I don't want people to be upset because if it's not true, we need to clear this up because if people come in and think this is possible and it's not true, we should clear this up and say what is true. Or if it is true, I mean, I think it would be great news. But I heard something about you guys have like small kind of like micro loans, small loans where people can come in if they even like blew a tire out or have some kind of emergency for their child or just need a loan to get through a small emergency. Yeah. They can come in and apply and get some kind of small loan. Does that actually exist?
Absolutely. So we all know life happens. If your tire blows out on the way to work, that means you're not going to work. You're not getting paid in a lot of cases. Yeah. We need you to get back to work tomorrow so that you can take care of your family.
You can pay that car loan that you got with us. No,
right. That too.
You need a tire, right?
But, we don't have a minimum loan amount. We don't have application fee.
No minimum loan amount.
No. So versus you going to some of the other alternatives that you may see in the community, pawn shops and payday lending, and paying those astronomical fees when you're already down and out. Wow. We do small dollar loans. We've done loans for groceries, for people to buy diapers and formula, to get their car fixed. Like you mentioned, maybe something happened and they, fell behind on electric bills, especially this time of year. Heating bills. That's just a necessity, and you don't know what the weather's going to do. You can only budget so much for things like that to happen. School clothes. Back to school supplies. We have loans for pretty much anything, just to meet those everyday needs. Sometimes people just need a little bit of help to get them to the next payday or to the next month, or maybe a tax return time or something else is happening. So,
and then they can pay that back. So some people, it may be tax return. So to me, and quick thought about this. First of all, I think that's phenomenal. It also could seem risky. In that, because that's probably why a lot of big players don't do it. Number one, you're chasing a lot of small dollars. Also, you're looking at people who very likely, if they can't afford a tire, then when are they ever going to have the extra money to pay back even a small loan? Because they're living that close to the margins of life, right? Mm-hmm. So you could look at that and say, I mean, if you can't afford a diaper, if you can't afford the smallest emergency, that means you have no margin in your life. Why would I ever loan you money? That's like a friend, a cousin, a sister. You're like, you can almost like my mom sometimes said, sometimes you can't loan money she said, don't ever loan anyone money that you can't live without because you may never get it back.
The good thing is that's where I kind of come in the financial counseling piece. We've done a great job kind of pairing the two.
I love that.
So
educating them.
Yeah, educating, setting up a budget, kind of giving them ways to afford that loan payment, if it's going to be $100, if it's going to be whatever the case may be. So we're going to educate you to get you there. We're not only going to bridge you to get the groceries, we're going to bridge that education piece.
That's so
that
good.
We empower you in the future to do better. So.
Which is very different than me giving it to my friend who I'm like, okay, good luck. What's different? And I'm like, I promise I'm coming into some money. And they're over there, playing the lottery or something silly.
And you're like,
you've been doing that your whole life. Right. It was always about to hit it rich. It never happened. So I love education is a big part of it. I love that.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people just didn't have that support growing up. They didn't know, how to manage their money. Maybe they are paying extra in fees for things that are low cost for other people to do. Banking is just one of them. But, trying to teach people where the pitfalls are, how to avoid them, how to better prepare. So if there is an emergency that comes up, because life is going to happen, just getting them better prepared. So we can help you now. We can help get you back on track, get your electric turned on, get your car repaired. But then Justin is always available to be able to help them be better going forward. So that's just, kind of what we do. But again, that's the difference of you coming into one of our branches or calling on the phone and having somebody to talk to tell your story. If you're applying online for a loan, if you can even find one that's going to go as low as you need,
right?
Who's looking at that? Nobody.
And who knows if it's a scam?
Nobody
Who
cares
knows what that
why
is? That's
your
scary.
tire blew out and why you don't have a couple $100 in your savings account.
Yeah.
But talking with a human
Yes.
in your community locally
It's not
that
gonna charge you
understands what's
100%
going
interest.
on, maybe can even understand if the repair that you're getting is reasonable. We are not experts as far as
Sure.
like what things cost, but we can say, hey,
might be
where do
able
I
to
go
get a
get my
car
tire
fixed.
fixed
Right.
as a one-time thing? We just have that experience working directly with our membership. Having a human involved
Yeah.
makes a big difference in things like that.
Huge. Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that.
So we got 2 more myths we want
Okay.
to bust before we go.
All right.
The first is safety and soundness, and what does that mean?
Right.
When you keep your money at home in a coffee jar, buried out in the backyard, whatever,
I shouldn't do that.
something
Okay.
happens, that money's gone.
Right.
Your backyard floods, gone.
Right.
Your house burns down. If it's in your mattress, gone.
Gone.
You keep it at a bank, it's insured by the FDIC up to $250,000. People don't know that credit unions basically have the exact same thing. It's called the NCUA. That's who our regulators are. That's who makes sure that we're living out our mission. That's who we answer to if we mess up with things. But they also protect our members and our credit union with the same level of insurance as a bank would have. So members' money is protected up to $250,000, backed by the National Credit Union Administration, which is the NCUA. And then we actually take it a step further. We, I guess, purchase, whatever, additional insurance, literally called excess share insurance.
Interesting.
So we actually protect members' money up to $500,000,
That's
$500,000
wonderful.
per member. No questions asked. Now, that's not to say, hey, I went and I fell victim to a fraud or a scam.
Sure.
Give me my money.
Right.
It's not that. But
It's
if
like
the
stock
credit
market
union were to
crashes,
fail,
something like that.
which credit unions generally don't fail, we have regulators that come in to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to protect our credit union.
Yeah.
But if something happened and the lights had to be turned off, you're protected up to $500,000.
Right.
No questions asked.
That's wonderful.
So, and the other is, I'll let one of you guys talk about it, is just, well, how do I join the credit union? I have to be an educator. I have to belong to Canton City Schools or do
Is
something.
it a gang or something?
Yeah, right.
Is it like some initiation I got to go through? A dark room or something?
But yeah, so you do have to be affiliated somehow, some way to become a credit union member. But generally, it has opened up so much. Like anybody in America can join a credit union somewhere. So if one of you guys wants to chat about how do you join CSE?
So for us, we are what's considered a community credit union. Like I mentioned before, a lot of credit unions were started with a certain organization. In our case, it was Canton City Schools was our original group of employees that we served. However, back in the early 2000s, we made the switch to a community credit union. So anybody who lives, works, worships, attends school, volunteers, or is an immediate family member of one of our existing members.
That list is growing. Has walked down the street or pumps gas in.
So here in Stark County, I mean, one of those is going to
Shops.
definitely apply to
Okay.
you.
Not all those things are-
But yeah, any of those would
Right.
make you eligible
Say
to
those
join the
again.
credit union.
It is. What are the criteria?
Live, work,
worship,
attend school, or volunteer
or volunteers.
in one of our eligible counties.
What
Love
about
that.
family member?
Immediate family members. So
and
mom,
attend school
dad.
could even be a
Look at
university.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
College or
Wonderful.
university applies as well. So, and then your mom, dad, sister, brother, spouse, child,
Wonderful.
stepchildren,
Yep.
half children,
Love that.
all of the things.
Adopted children.
Your adopted
Right.
children.
Right. You bring them
all
in.
with
Bring them all
you.
in. Right. I got to
We're
adopt
not
this kid
taking
to get
pets
rid
yet,
of
so your dog can't join.
Oh man.
but that might be.
one
Bring them through
day.
the drive-through. Usually we have like the little
Do
milk
you
bones.
guys?
Yeah, we
Seriously?
still do
That's
that.
hilarious.
So
I
we
love
still-
it. And suckers? Do you guys have suckers?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
all
think
right.
there would
That's
be a
why
mutiny
I'm
if we got
fine.
rid of suckers.
Okay, right. It's not okay. My whole childhood was like, can we go to the bank? And I used to tell my parents, I used to say, one day my mom told me when I was a kid one day, I said, I wanted something. She said, we can't afford it. I said, why don't we just go to the ATM? Because I just assumed you just get money out. I didn't know you had to put money in. Nobody told me. I just assumed you pull up to this. It was the green machine back in the day. Anyway, so yeah. So you have to put money in to get money out.
Yeah.
Okay, it's still like that. Okay,
It
cool.
is,
But okay,
sadly, yeah.
unfortunately.
I mean, my
But-
son just says use your pay card.
Okay, that's okay.
pay
That's
with a
how
card.
just pay with the card. Like
Yeah, it's a pay
it's
card.
endless, isn't it? I thought those
Yeah.
were endless. So you guys don't have those yet. That myth is busted. No endless
Sorry.
pay cards
Yeah.
yet.
No money trees.
No money
we don't
trees
print our
yet?
own.
Can't get cash out of your mobile app. You do have to go to an ATM.
I've seen one of those things that's like, and it's like money going through there real fast. That's not printing money. That's a
No.
counter,
It's
or is that a,
counter.
that's a counter? Just a
Right.
counter.
They're
Okay.
pretty cool.
That's when you bring your deposits in, Lucas.
Oh, is that what? Okay, yeah. You guys need. I
Count all
know.
your
There's so
cash.
much, right? I know it's like overflowing. You guys are like, we don't even have rubber bands big enough. I know. I remember that. All right, that's what they told me. That was right. That's right. So this has been great. So much fun. So much information. I mean, I don't know.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
Probably just a disclaimer. We'll do the little fast voice at the end.
Okay, right.
We again, this is not us saying banks are bad. Banks are a great alternative to credit unions, or maybe credit unions are a great alternative to banks. I don't know.
Depending on how you
They're
look
just
at
not
it.
as great, but this is not us bad mouthing banks. They
Yeah.
serve a purpose, but join a credit union for your everyday banking.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's do it. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We hope you guys subscribe, listen, follow this podcast. We want to give you guys information wherever you are around our city, around our county, around the world. This is information that can help you. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys next time.